How would one sell imagination? How can you explain an abstract concept to a non-creative who would then need to buy into this idea, this thought process behind the idea, as if it was something that was totally concrete? This line is pretty much what connects marketing to interior design. And on a blank canvas, this is where designers and users would eventually begin to play and walk towards this idea of innovation and originality. Like a paint palette, there's so many color options and questions. Will the palette remain pure? Will the color be mixed with another? Are you going to consider this to be a shade, a highlight, or the main color? Brand identity can be and should be implicitly or explicitly connected to the space in which it is hosted. The most important connection, of course, being between space and user. When trying to sell innovation and creativity to a user and create attachment between space and user, that's when the designer really has to have this confidence of thought, the idea to reflect what's in the mind onto paper. And when trying to do this, the heart and soul of this project has rested in nostalgia, this idea of familiarity, safety, existence, but in combination with the convenience and user-friendliness of today, because that is what the modern world offers. It offers a chance for people to do things easily and efficiently and effectively, ultimately. And so with this particular project, it was trying to understand how people used to think, how they currently think, and try and take the richness of the past and merge it with kind of the user-friendliness of today. And I think that's kind of where there's a lot of room to play as designers. There's either the idea of restoration, which will bring something that a building or a design feature back to its original beauty. There's this idea of juxtaposition, this high contrast between extremely old features with extremely new, and somehow blending these together. And lastly, of course, is this idea of imitation, when you can't necessarily capture the true essence of what history was, but you have these modern materials and applications which allow you to bring the feeling and the nostalgic sense that comes from the past into the present. And those are powerful tools. When looking at the bones of the project, we look at the structure of the industry. How would this exactly be reimagined? Is it when looking at the service offerings in terms of offering an elevated result? Is it about uniformity or an all-round multi-perspective in terms of user experience? Are there various design tool types, each mark making individually, but somehow collectively? Having the input of several design practitioners would ultimately ensure that the dynamic of this multifaceted design solution is relevant to the lives of the audience. The creative process is the blood of the project, a powerful tool. It's explanatory, it's exploratory, and it's analytically insightful. By making the process visual, this allows the designer as well as the user to partake in the development and construction of the project. It allows the water to move, bleed, integrate, divide, and highlight layers that are added to a canvas. This is, of course, one method of breaking down and truly capturing the essence of a brand's identity as a project develops, and it also allows for the opportunity to form a positive relationship between a brand, the designer, and its user. Positive relationships and positive design stems from informed decisions. As Gary said, there are always 85% worth of specifics, such as constraints, and I have 15% of opportunity to be creative. So this 1920s power plant was originally abandoned and then repurposed and restored. From there, it kind of formed the perfect foundation for this interdisciplinary corporate space, for the reasons that it allowed for the visual extrusion of the design process and really gave an opportunity to give a nod to this idea of restoration, juxtaposition, and imitation, as well as capturing and developing a brand's identity from origin to implementation. And of course, it's an existing site, so it comes with its own limitations and restrictions which need to be heeded to. But there's something particularly stunning about having bones and structures that are already in place and can almost frame what is put into it. It's this idea of foreground and background and how the two can play off of each other. And the brand's identity is kind of what's in the foreground.
Over the course of the creative process, development and analysis is of course inevitable. Consulting the literature and case studies was critical when molding the methodology of qualitative research chosen. The secondary research acted as a guide and validation to this idea of in-depth interviews which took place with various interviewees. When engaging in an MA project such as this, the creative process is highlighted, the limitations and the opportunities exposed, the details are further layered, and the residual effects are altered in terms of future creative thinking methods. This alteration hopefully would mean that for a designer, there'd be a clearer reflection of thought confidence. Between abstract art and the design process, and this project in particular, you can't help but draw certain correlations. The various tools, interdisciplinary collaboration, the natural man-made elements, of course the creative process and the connection to branding, the layering of content, restoration design, and the design itself, research, functional creativity. These create an organic structure of innovation shaped by a control and fluidity.